Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be looking at something pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's a paper all about,
It's a cool paper.
yeah,
Yeah, really interesting.
prompt towards universal in-context image generation.
Yeah,
And honestly, this research is kind of mind-blowing.
it is.
Um,
It's really pushing the boundaries of what we can do with image generation and image manipulation using AI.
yeah, so think about like editing pictures,
Right.
creating brand new ones,
Yeah.
and even like analyzing what's in a photo and doing all this stuff with AI that can learn.
And it's all learning from examples.
Yeah.
So rather than kind of hard coding rules or trying to explicitly program the AI, it's actually learning from visual examples, which is just super cool.
Yeah, and I think that's what's like so fascinating about this whole thing.
Yeah.
But there's like a bit of a challenge here.
Yeah.
These large vision language models, VLMs, they need,
Very data hungry.
yeah, a lot of data.
Like a huge amount of information to even begin to function effectively.
It's like if you ask somebody to memorize an entire library
Right.
before they can understand like even one book.
Yeah, it's like drinking from a fire hose of information.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big hurdles in this field is how do you make these models efficient? How do you get them to learn from reasonable amounts of data?
Right.
And that's where X-prompt comes in.
So how does it do that?
Well, think about it this way.
Okay.
When you're trying to learn something new,
Yeah.
do you just like try and cram every single detail into your brain all at once?
No.
Probably not.
No.
You try and pick out the key points, the essential information that helps you grasp that bigger picture,
Yeah.
right? X-prompt does something very similar, but with images.
Okay.
It compresses the information from those in-context example images into a smaller, more manageable form.
Okay. So it's like,
So it's
well-
giving the AI that cheat sheet,
Yeah.
those cliff notes, the spark notes,
yeah,
the essential information without overwhelming it.
perfect. Too much. So then that makes it possible
Exactly.
to like train these models
Yeah,
in a feasible way.
right.
Okay. I'm starting to see why this is like a big deal.
Yeah, it's a game changer.
But for me, like as just a regular person, how could I actually use this or benefit from this?
Sure. So let's say you've got a ton of like complex charts and graphs you've got to get through for a meeting.
Yeah.
Right. An AI powered by this X prompt could look at all those visuals, analyze them, and be like, here are the key insights.
Oh, wow.
And it could potentially save you hours and hours of like poring over data.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Right. So it's not just understanding the images, it's like extracting meaning from them and generating actionable insights.
Right. And the paper was talking about how X prompt isn't just limited to like one specific type of image manipulation.
It's not a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
No, it's a multi-talented AI.
So it can generate images from text prompts. It can edit existing images. It can do like depth estimation,
Yeah.
image denoising. It just seems so versatile.
It really is. And that's one of the things that makes it so exciting, that it's not just limited to one specific niche.
And I guess that comes from the training process too.
It does.
It's not just showing the model a bunch of images and being like,
Yeah, do this.
do this.
Right.
They're using this
Task augmentation pipeline,
task augmentation pipeline.
right?
That's interesting. So like, how does that work?
So let's say you want to teach the model to remove rain from an image. Instead of just showing it a bunch of images with rain and saying, get rid of the rain, they also teach it to add rain.
Why would they do that?
So by training on these like reverse tasks, the model gets a much deeper understanding of the relationship between the images and the instructions that it's given.
Oh,
It's kind of like learning a language, right?
Yeah.
You don't just learn to speak, you learn to read and write, you learn grammar. So it's understanding the nuances of how images can be manipulated.
interesting.
And that makes it much more versatile.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's a key part of how X-prompt is trained.
Okay, and what about this retrieval augmented image editing?
RAI.
RIE.
Yeah.
What is that?
So RAIE is like a super-powered search engine for image editing.
Okay.
Imagine you want to edit a photo in a very specific way.
Yeah.
RAIU can search a database for similar editing tasks and use that information to make your edits even better.
Oh, so it's like having a whole team of experts
Yes.
guiding the AI.
Like having a whole team of photo editors giving you tips and tricks.
Okay, that's pretty neat.
Right. And it can actually search through this massive database of editing examples and be like, oh, you want to do this? Well, here's how other people have done similar things, and here's how we can make your edits look even better.
So does this actually work, though?
It does.
Like, does the paper actually show that it delivers?
Yeah, they did a whole bunch of experiments.
Okay.
And what they found was really remarkable, and this is kind of the mind-blowing part, is that X prompt can learn entirely new tasks that it's never seen before.
Wait, so they gave it something it's never done before?
Yeah.
And it just figured it out?
Yeah.
Wow, so what kinds of tasks?
So they gave it examples like adding objects to images or enhancing images that were taken in low light, all from just a single example.
Okay, so it's like watching someone learn to ride a bike.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they're doing a backflip.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It shows a real understanding of the underlying principles.
So they didn't even have to train it to do that.
Nope.
That's incredible.
And that's what makes this novel task generalization so exciting, is that it suggests that we're moving towards AI that can learn and adapt in ways that we previously thought were impossible.
Wow, okay.
The paper also dives into some other really cool applications.
Oh, like what?
Like style personalization. You could make an image look like a specific painting style.
That's neat.
Or like action preservation, where you could generate a new image of someone doing the same action as in a reference image, but with different details.
So the possibilities are just like...
endless. Yeah, it really feels like a new frontier.
It does. It sounds like it could revolutionize how we create and interact with images in so many ways. So I'm definitely ready to learn more about all the technical details behind how this actually works.
Well, let's dive into that in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so let's get into like the nitty gritty here.
Yeah, let's pop the hood.
How does XPrompt actually work?
All right, so at its heart, XPrompt is built on this really powerful vision language foundation model called Chameleon.
Chameleon.
And Chameleon is designed to process both text and image data together.
So it's like the brain and then XPrompt are the instructions telling it what to do.
That's a great analogy.
Okay, cool.
So Chameleon uses this technique called a VQVAE.
Oh, what?
VQVAE. It stands for Vector Quantized Variational Autoencoder.
Okay, I'm already lost.
It sounds really complicated, but it's basically a way of compressing complex image data into a smaller, more manageable representation.
So instead of trying to process every single pixel in an image, it breaks it down into like smaller chunks.
Yeah. Think about it. Like if you were trying to describe a painting.
Okay.
By listing the color of every single pixel.
That would take forever.
It would be super tedious and inefficient.
Yeah.
Instead, you would focus on the key elements like the shapes and the colors, the composition, to get the essence of the painting across.
Right.
That's basically what the VQVAE does.
Okay, so it extracts those key features
Yep.
and puts them into a form that Chameleon can understand.
Exactly, encodes it into this more compact form.
Okay, that makes sense. So then where does XPrompt come in?
So XPrompt comes in when we want Chameleon to actually learn from those example images we were talking about.
Okay.
Those in-context examples that give it visual guidance.
Right, like if you wanted to put hats on cats.
Exactly. You show it a bunch of pictures of cats wearing hats, and you're like, all right, learn from this.
Right.
So XPrompt uses this really cool technique called attention masking.
Attention masking.
To actually focus Chameleon's learning on those specific examples. Oh, okay.
It's like saying, hey, pay attention to this. This is important.
So it helps it prioritize.
Yeah, it prevents the model from getting distracted by all the other stuff that's going on in the image.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's compressing the data.
Right.
It's prioritizing what it needs to focus on, but then how does it actually use all this information to like generate images or manipulate images?
Okay, so that's where the auto-regressive generation comes in.
Auto-regressive generation.
So basically, Chameleon takes all those compressed bits of information and uses them to predict the next element in a sequence.
So it's like writing a story one word at a time.
Exactly. Each word is influenced by the words that came before it.
Oh, okay.
But instead of words, we're talking about visual elements that make up an image.
Okay.
So it's like piecing together a puzzle one piece at a time.
That's awesome.
Right. And it's happening at an incredibly fast pace because these are like massive AI models with huge processing power.
Wow.
So you're able to generate or manipulate these images very quickly. Okay. And all this is made possible because of that initial compression with the XPrompt?
Exactly. It's the key innovation that allows these models to learn from huge amounts of data without getting totally overwhelmed.
That's incredible.
And remember those reverse tasks we were talking about?
Yeah, like training it to add rain.
Yeah, instead of just remove it.
Right.
Well, those also play a key role in how XPrompt learns.
So it gets that deeper understanding.
Exactly. By training on these augmented tasks, the model develops a much more nuanced understanding of visual manipulation.
Wow.
It's like if you want to learn to appreciate art, you don't just look at paintings, you also learn about the techniques and the thought processes that went into creating them.
Right.
So it's getting that kind of deeper level of understanding.
Okay, so How do we know this actually works, though?
Right. So the researchers did a bunch of experiments.
Okay.
And they tested XPrompt on a whole bunch of different tasks.
Okay.
Things like text-to-image generation, image editing, depth estimation, image denoising.
So pretty much everything we talked about.
All the things.
Yeah.
And the results were really impressive.
Okay, so it worked.
It worked really well, and in a lot of cases it performed as well or even better than models that were specifically designed for those individual tasks.
Really?
Yeah, so remember that novel task generalization thing?
Yeah, where it can learn something new from one example.
Yeah, that's the one. Well, they put that to the test too.
Okay.
And XPrompt consistently outperformed other models that were specifically designed for in-context learning.
Wow.
It's a real leap forward in how AI can learn and understand images.
Okay, so it sounds like XPrompt is like the champion
It's definitely a major step forward.
of visual AI.
But, it's important to remember that no technology is perfect.
Right.
XPrompt does have some limitations.
Okay, like what?
Well, one of the limitations stems from that compression process we were talking about.
With the VQVAE.
Right, where it breaks the image down into those smaller pieces.
All right.
Now, while that's essential for making these models work, it does mean that we lose some information along the way. Oh, okay.
It's kind of like translating a poem into another language.
Okay.
You might capture the general meaning, but some of that nuance and subtlety is going to get lost in translation.
Right.
So there's kind of a trade-off there.
Between efficiency and accuracy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And another limitation is that while XPrompt is really versatile, it's not perfect at generalizing to completely different types of tasks.
Okay.
So it might be amazing at generating images from text
Yeah.
and editing existing images,
Right.
but it might struggle with something like recognizing objects in real-time video footage.
So it's not like a one-size-fits-all solution.
Not yet, at least.
Okay.
But I think as these models are trained on more data and become more sophisticated, we can start to overcome those limitations.
So what are some real-world applications of XPrompt that we might see,
Yeah.
like, soon?
So one area where it could have a huge impact is content creation.
Okay.
Imagine designers using XPrompt to generate different variations of a logo.
Or website layouts, or even product designs, just by giving the AI a few examples and a text description.
That would be super useful.
Right. It could really speed up the design process.
What about like other fields?
Well, think about education.
Okay.
XPrompt could be used to create these interactive learning tools
Okay.
that adapt to a student's individual needs and use visual examples to explain things.
That'd be pretty cool.
Right. It could make learning so much more engaging and intuitive.
Yeah.
And then there's accessibility.
Okay.
We could use XPrompt to generate image descriptions for people who are visually impaired,
That's a good idea.
to make online content more inclusive.
Yeah.
So the possibilities are really vast.
It really seems like XPrompt is a major step forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's exciting to see where it goes from here.
Yeah. So what do you think? What comes next?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
The researchers have opened up a whole new world of possibilities.
Right.
And it's up to us to explore those possibilities responsibly and ethically.
Yeah. It's important to keep those things in mind as AI keeps advancing.
Absolutely. The future of AI is not something that's predetermined. It's a future that we're creating right now.
That's a good point. This deep dive has been super insightful. I feel like I've learned a lot.
Me too. It's really fascinating to see how far this technology has come.
Wow. This deep dive into XPrompt,
Yeah.
it's really got me thinking about like the future of AI.
It is pretty wild to think about, right?
Yeah, and how quickly things are advancing. It seems like just yesterday we were amazed by AI that could like barely recognize a cat in a photo.
Right.
And now we're talking about AI that can learn new visual tasks from like a single example.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah. And just think about like all the ways this could like change our lives.
Totally.
I mean, we've already talked about things like design and education.
Yeah, accessibility,
but like what else is out there?
Right, and those are just scratching the surface, really.
Yeah.
The potential applications for this kind of technology are just vast. Like, I think one of the most exciting things is this idea of AI becoming more and more adaptable.
Right, like that novel task generalization.
Exactly, and where does that lead?
Yeah.
Like, could we one day have AI that can handle pretty much any visual task we throw at it?
That would be incredible.
Right. Imagine an AI that can generate photorealistic images from your descriptions.
Yeah.
Analyze medical scans, design buildings,
Wow.
create works of art.
It sounds almost like magic.
It kind of is, right? It's like we're giving these machines a form of visual intelligence.
Yeah, but like with great power comes great responsibility, right?
100%. That's something we always have to keep in mind as we develop these powerful technologies.
Oh, yeah.
We have to make sure we're using them ethically, responsibly.
Right. Thinking about the potential biases that might be embedded in these models.
Exactly. And making sure that the technology benefits everyone.
Yeah, not just a select few.
Right. It's about creating a future where AI enhances our lives and makes the world a better place.
Yeah. Well said. I think that's a great note to end on.
Yeah.
This deep dive has been truly fascinating and eye-opening.
I've really enjoyed it.
Thanks for joining us today, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
And be sure to check out the show notes for more information and resources on XPrompt and in-context image generation.
And let us know what you think.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on this amazing technology and what it means for the future.
Until next time.
Keep on exploring.